What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to Connected by Creatures with Zach Nava and myself. And we have an amazing guest tonight, the Deadly Tarantula Girl, Marita. How's it going?
I am so amazing. My summer vacation's in full swing because I'm a teacher. So I've got a couple projects I'm working on and I'm just working at them. So it's been a little bit of like laying in the hammock, leisure reading, doing yoga on the patio, that kind of thing. But a lot of good work too. So I'm good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, a lot of herping, of course.
Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna get into that at some point tonight. So I think that's like the dream job as far as having the time off and having the schedule, because
Yes.
being a teacher, like you have a great schedule. And I know that a lot of people don't understand, there's definitely work at home, as far as
Right.
scheduling and planning and lesson plans and all that stuff and
Hmm.
grading. But I mean, you guys have a great schedule.
Yes. So I am scheduled to work 180 days a year, and that's less than half the year. And I'm on
Yeah.
salary year round. So it's not like I'm rich, but on the other
Sure.
hand, we have other enterprises. And so I don't just and also I'm married to someone who makes more money than I do. So that's not always been the case, but it's definitely the case now. And so it's nice because I have almost indefinitely weekends off, summers off. Now, like this summer, I got kind of voluntold that I was teaching summer school.
Hmm.
That's sort of a long story, but it was so we got 1 week off after school let out, and then summer school started, and it was from 9 to 12, and then we got an hour for planning. So, and it was like we didn't take grades, it wasn't super rigorous. I mean,
Hmm.
we had to teach, we had to be doing specific things, but it was pretty chill, and that's already over. So, that was over the last week of June. And so, long story short, I had a project I'm working on that I had made my deadline like school lets out the last week of May. So June, I'm gonna finish this writing project. And then I found out summer school, so now my new deadline is July, and whew, I'm working hard on it. So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome because I mean I get off in the evenings. I can go herping every night if I want, and it's great because our season here is till like November.
That's amazing.
So for our
Yeah.
viewers that don't know, tell us a little bit about what you teach.
Mm. Um, well, I'm a public school teacher. In New Mexico, I was licensed pre-K 12. I have multiple endorsements. I've taught science, math, social studies, reading, writing, English. This year, I'm only teaching fourth grade language arts and social studies. And so it's really nice. That's kind of my niche. It's sort of funny that I'm not teaching science, but on the other hand, it's kind of nice too because I just throw in science wherever I want it and I don't have to follow rules because
Yeah.
I'm not like being tested on those lessons.
Hmm.
And so it's really fun. Fourth grade's the lowest I've ever taught. I've taught elementary, middle, and high school. I can't see going lower than fourth grade, but every time I move and do something different, I just love it so much that I don't know. I just
Yeah.
there's a lot of joy in different areas of work, and I just tend to find those joyful things about it. And they say if you love your job, you're not really working and all that stuff. And I believe that that's partly kind of mind over matter because there's sometimes people in the exact same boat, and some are happy and some are miserable. And it can always be worse, whatever you're going through. I promise you,
Yeah.
it can
It's all
always be
perspective.
worse. Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
Perspective is definitely the thing. It's like what you were saying. There are people that are teachers that maybe hate their schedule and hate the way that things are, but it's like for you, obviously you're reaping all the benefits of it because it's like I have free time to do these passions that I have. I can go
Right.
herping. I've got summers off. I can travel. I can do whatever I need to be doing outside of this job, and that's wonderful. I think that's definitely something that a lot of people miss out on is that, you know, there are a lot of jobs where there are trade-offs where maybe it's lower income, or there's like, or it's harder work, but maybe there's more flexibility there. And so
Yeah, that's true.
it's always nice to hear the way people find their own balance in life, and the way that they have learned to pursue passions the way that you have. So that's awesome.
Well, I think it's interesting how intelligent people are finding new platforms to enterprise on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so interesting because me as an educator, and I graduated high school in the last century, we'll just say that. You know, we all were taught that principle or that moral or that idea that you have to go to
Mm-hmm.
college to be of value to
Yeah.
the community and blah blah blah. And that's baloney. As an educator, I can tell you that's bull. And I also, don't shoot me, guys, I don't believe in the American public education system very well.
I don't think most people do these days.
It's doo-doo. It needs so much work. Kids need to learn about social emotional health. They need to learn about financial planning. They need to learn about critical thinking, figuring stuff out. It blows my mind that children can't think.
Yeah, I would definitely say that's my biggest gripe with you know, the things that I see my daughter with school is there's so much poke and puke. Like they poke it down their throat and the kid pukes it back up on the piece of paper. There's no they don't teach kids how to think. You know, they don't
Right.
give them the opportunity to expand their thought process. It's
Right.
basically just memorize this and spew it out, and next week we don't even care about it anymore.
Yeah, and so the learning from one unit to the next is not connected. So statistically, that is proven that those things are not going to stay in your mind. Also, it's disconnected from the things that they're doing in real life. Now, I know that Common Core, like the whole purpose of Common Core and all that was to change that and put it into a real life setting, but we're still super far off. And it's difficult for me to try to implement it when I'm teaching history that's not true. I'm like, by the way, guys, Christopher Columbus didn't really discover the Americas because there were already people here, and he actually thought he was in India, and actually he was in the Caribbean. So just throwing that out there, guys. And they're
Yeah.
like, why? What do you mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, let's do a little mini lesson real quick.
Mm-hmm. But see, those are the teachers I always liked. Is like, here's the lesson, like the way that we're supposed to teach things, but then here's also like the reality of the world and some things that you should consider. And you offer that opportunity for some free thought and some free thinking and some outside of the box things. And I think that the important takeaway for that is that you're still getting across what you're supposed to do. You're still doing your job the way that it needs to be done, but you're offering the kids that opportunity to, again, just to just be aware that, hey, by the way, everything that you're going to learn here is not everything. Like there is more information out there, and you should definitely consider pursuing all of that.
Exactly.
And I think that's super important is just to push people to think for themselves a little bit and to kind of do their own research, if you will.
Well, and kids will ask me questions, and I always try to give them a very broad answer. Like,
Sure.
Why aren't snakes scary? And I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. There are cultural, there are religious beliefs, there are a lot of things that are telling you that are not based in scientific fact that snakes are scary, snakes are dangerous. I said there's also like the media and propaganda that's blowing facts, true facts, out of proportion. And I told them that horses are responsible for more deaths in our country than snakes because we're in a rural area. A lot of these kids are around horses all the time.
Yeah.
And
so you can make that connection, bridge that gap.
Someone will say like, actually, you know, I remember, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, so if you're riding your horses, I think you guys should be wearing helmets and be careful and understand about horse safety. And, you know, don't get on a horse that you don't know unless you're an experienced rider. And so instead of just saying, snakes aren't scary because they're not dangerous. Well, okay. I have snakes that could kill me. I do in my next room over, 2 rooms over. I have venomous snakes. I have big pythons. They're cool. I like them. But my goal is to be able to teach in a like a what would be considered a low risk environment where kids
Mhm.
can think and ask questions without fear of ridicule or embarrassment, and that they can learn to trust me and trust each other, and that I kind of encourage that productive struggle. So for example, if I have a kid that says I can't do this, instead of giving them the answer, or instead of saying figure it out or have your neighbor help you,
Mhm.
we walk I say, well, tell me what you do know. Let's start from, okay, I see that you wrote X, Y, and Z. Well, I like what you were thinking there. Can you tell me about that? And it just encouraging them, because
Mhm.
no matter, everyone can learn more than they know now. I don't care. And I do mean that. I've worked in some programs with very profoundly disabled people, adults and children, that literally wear diapers and can't hold a spoon. And there are things that those people can learn. I'm in a general ed setting now, and I have a lot of kids with all kinds of different needs and abilities, and that I am always learning too. I think that's
Sure.
an important thing and I thank students and colleagues all the time for thanking me for teaching stuff, and that kind of like, they're like, oh, okay, grown-ups can learn too. Grown-ups should be learning. If you're not
Yeah.
learning, something's wrong.
No, 100%. The day you think you know everything, you're fucked.
No doubt.
You're going to be stupid for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah, there we go. Yeah.
So
So,
with that being said, and like the Columbus thing, how difficult is it for you to navigate, things that we know are factual compared to what the curriculum lays out? Like is there a possibility for reprimand for you doing something like that, or
It's touchy. I literally have read science books and literature books to kids that talk about poisonous snakes, and I'm like, let me just let me
yeah.
just say what poison is, like, a scientifically. And it's definitely a fine line. And I live in a pretty, like, West Texas is a pretty, like, politically radical area.
Sure.
um like, there were Trump parades on Main Street every Friday night, and I had a transgender student in my class in 4th grade that changed genders during 4th grade. And I
Hmm.
had a lot of kids who were bullying and saying they're going to hell. And I said, okay, so your personal belief, your innermost thoughts are perfectly okay to talk about with you and your family, but that's not appropriate to share at school. And here's the bottom line: did so and so ask you if you thought that? Because if so, it's
Right.
none of your business. And I think that what other people think about you is none of your business. So you probably shouldn't ask. That's my personal belief. Um, and basically, if someone's nice to you and kind to you, then that's respect. Whether they agree with you or not, then you can be respectful in return. If someone's not, let them be an asshole over there. And maybe one day they'll learn. I mean, maybe their parents have learned those lessons and maybe they haven't. But just know it's not you, it's them. And my principal didn't agree with that student making those choices. And I said, but we can't decide that. Like, we can't say that she's not a he now. And I mean, that was a student. First of all, that was a student that had come from another country, had a major language barrier, had some social. I mean, there was a lot of different things happening
Hmm.
there, but that was a student who came to trust me. And
Sure.
I've also seen kids. There was another girl in the classroom that would say things that she had heard to try and get attention. It was my interpretation, and I handled that differently.
Yeah.
And I just, instead of spending a lot of time, I would say, if that's the way you feel today, I can respect that, and I would move on. To where the other child, she would say, I hate my hair, I want to cut it off, I want to, I want to kill myself. This and that. He then I did spend more time with and was much more protective over, because I felt like that was, whether you want to call it a sexual question of sexual identity, it was a genuine process or transition that that person was experiencing, in my professional opinion. The other person forgot the next day what they had told me the day before about their gender identity and went on being happy go lucky. Um, my principal didn't agree with us using the alternate name and things like that. And we met about it, and she asked that student if she could just masculinize her original name, and the student didn't answer, which he didn't speak English very well. So the principal was like, so I wasn't sure. And I'm like, well, he did say that his name now is, so what's the
And does it
problem?
really hurt anybody to just call this person by a name that they now prefer? Like, if that, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, you're
Well,
not asking for a lot at
well,
the end of
and
the fucking day.
I pointed out several students who have nicknames that have been their
And
nicknames
that's what
that have
I equate it to. It's
nothing
the
to
same
do.
thing.
That has nothing to do with their actual name. It's just what they prefer to be called. So what's the harm in it? Which that student did cut all of his hair off before the end of the year. And it was a huge transformation once he started being allowed to dress more toward the identity that he identified with. And it's really interesting because 10 years ago, I might have said, yeah, I think that's probably a choice. But here's what it comes down to for me. I feel like a woman every day. I feel like I think like a woman, and I look like a woman, and I sound like a woman. Now, that's not to say I don't have some masculine traits. Some people would think that it's masculine that I handle snakes, or that it's masculine that I, whatever. Some of the things that I
Sure.
do are
Well,
masculine traits.
the industry we're in is male dominated. We can all
That's true.
admit that. Yeah.
But every person has some masculine and feminine traits. I feel like a woman. When I look in the mirror, I see a woman, and that feels right to me. If I were me, but I looked like one of you, just somehow, I can't imagine. I mean, I think I probably would have grown up differently because of the way I was treated. But I think if
Sure.
I were me, but I looked like one of you, and not that either of you is a bad looking man, or, it has nothing to do with that. It's that I wouldn't feel like my outside matched my inside. And I think that would probably be pretty upsetting. Um,
Sure.
yeah. So that's, I don't know, kind of a weird. So I don't know if that, yeah, weird
No,
tangent.
No.
Sorry about that.
I kind of have
Real talk.
two takeaways from that. Number one, I applaud you as a teacher to kind of talk to your students and talk to the kids, and even talking to the faculty and the superintendent or principal to the point that I think the most important thing out of all of this is you can disagree. Like, you can have a different thought process, and
Right.
just because something doesn't fit the way that you think it, you should still respect someone, and I think that's a huge problem with society as a whole right now. Is there's so many people that just because they have a different mindset, they lack respect for the opposite. And
Right.
the second thing is that topic is actually it hits close to me because my daughter's best friend is going through that transition.
Wow.
And like you said, 10 years ago, maybe my mindset would have been different. And
Mhm.
I will say that, the idea of transgender and everything, like it's, I hate to use the word trendy, but
Mhm.
it's very
It is in style right now.
right,
It
right.
is.
And so the thing that I was educated by my 13-year-old is, it's not a choice. And you said that earlier, that you would have thought it was a choice. And I've never thought that it was a choice to be homosexual. I never thought it was a choice, because I've literally been around people, in my life that when we were 5 years old, like I knew this guy was gay. Like
Mm-hmm.
and he knew it too. And I think that,
Right.
people are genetically, you're born that way. And I might catch a lot of shit from certain people. There's even people in my family I'll catch shit for saying that I think that you're born, but regardless. But my daughter kind of explained to me, she was like, you know, this boy that's her friend, she was like, Dad, he doesn't feel like he's a boy. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's not. Like everything in him is telling him, that he's female. And like it just hit me. I was like, this is a kid that's the same age as my daughter, is best friends with my daughter, and like great kid. They love each other. They're best friends. And
Yeah.
to see the care that she has for this person, like it's eye opening. And I think until you've experienced it firsthand and like really not went through it with someone, but watch someone that
Right.
then I think we do have a lack of understanding as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Right. Just like with any culture that maybe we're unfamiliar with. I mean, it's a cultural thing. So here's a couple interesting things. Number one, they're discovering that, I don't want to say a large percentage, but a huge number of babies are born intersex, meaning not specifically one gender or the other. Now, historically, like until maybe 5 or 10 years ago, so a lot of times no one ever knew because it was something as unnoticeable as it's a baby girl with a vagina, fallopian tubes, uterus, eggs, two ovaries, and then maybe like a testy somewhere tucked away in the body that no one ever, and maybe that person has a little more masculinity, maybe not. Um, but there are children that are born with external genitalia intersex that are kind of like, which one are they? And so, historically, at least in developed nations, doctors would look at the genitalia and say, ooh, I think we could do probably a boy easier on this one, or maybe a girl easier on. And they would do surgery as the child's an infant. And then keep it a secret. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell your child. And then, so like, let's
Interesting.
say they said, I can make this into a vagina, I think, easier than a penis. And so that person would grow up with a male identity. And now some of these adults are finding out that they were born as intersex children and that their parents just chose the most convenient sexual identity for them, gender identity. Uh oh, is this too heavy? Okay.
Huh.
Let's have fun. so, so, but a lot of, I wouldn't say a huge portion. It's like 1 to 3% or something like that. But that's a huge number of babies that are chromosomally different from your average male or female.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's biological, that's genetic. So you can't argue that.
And I also
Anyway,
think that, you know, the the good part that's coming out of all of this is the communication. Because,
yes.
in the past, like even, when people our age were kids, like
Mm-hmm.
there was that need for secrecy when it comes to certain things. And I
Right.
mean, like some really negative shit can happen,
Oh,
in our time
yeah.
would happen to kids, and like it was just hush about, just don't
Right.
talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And like we need communication. Like that's key to every social interaction between people, and how people interact with the world is the
Mm-hmm.
ability to communicate. But let's I want to lighten it up a little bit because we got real heavy right off.
Sorry about that, guys.
No.
No apologies. We shy away
So,
from nothing on this podcast.
One of my favorite posts that I've seen on any of your social media was one of your students' parent was talking about how the kid had told him, and you had animals, and like the kid got to come and see, and then it was like, oh my gosh, my child's teacher has hundreds of animals, and with what Katie and I are trying to do with Wrapped Around Reptiles and do education, like I love seeing kids get to interact with animals. How often do you get to interact with your students with your animals and stuff?
Well, I've been in public education for a long time. And for about the last 7 years, I've been allowed to have animals in my classroom every day. And it's been awesome until this year. And that's because I moved to Texas. People are very anti-snake in Texas until they kind of get educated. But we have several species of venomous snakes here. So people just think snakes are bad. They're a no-go. But also, chemicals were being sprayed. We were having to bleach and Lysol our rooms multiple times a day every time I had a group come in or leave or breakfast or lunch or so I didn't feel like it was safe to have animals in my room necessarily this year. So I've been able to be super hands-on with students in the past. So what we've begun doing here is having an open house to the community where anybody can just come for free. We do it for like 3 hours. It's come and go, where anybody can come. And we try to have as many people as we can here to try and host it. Anybody who can, well, of course, we don't take out anything dangerous on those because it's like groups of people. Anybody who's like more interested, like if they really want to see a cobra, you need to make an appointment for another day. Or if you want us to get out like a big python. Our big snakes are not the sweetest. We don't handle them regularly. They're breeding animals.
Yeah, it's a lot, and they're a lot of work sometimes, and so it's I get it.
Yeah, they are. So we work on those in teams, but that's been really fun because we're just outside of the city limits and people have no idea that we're here still, which I love. And when they come, it's like, I mean, their minds are just blown. And it's really funny because they might stay for an hour or the whole 3 hours. And they probably see 25 animals. And that's like nothing.
It's a percentage. It's a small percentage of what you guys have there.
Literally. And so it's really funny. And it's so interesting to see people's mindset change just even in that short time.
It's amazing when you put those animals in people's hands and you give them that literal hands-on experience and just words can only do so much.
Right.
But you put a snake in the hands of somebody that's maybe never held one and you start talking to them about it, and all of a sudden you can see people. I say it all the time. You can just see the tension leave people's bodies.
Right.
And you're literally watching someone's entire mindset change right before your eyes. It's the most powerful thing in the world. It really, really is.
So I kind of feel like a Jehovah's Witness that I sort of want to like convert everybody. And now I don't want to convert everybody into a snake keeper because it's not for everybody.
No.
But I want to convert everyone that I can, that I interact with, into stop being a snake killer.
Yes,
because
that's exactly
first of all, why? That's cruel. Second of all, most people that get injured from wild venomous snakes got hurt trying to hurt them. And it's like, I've literally stood next to a copperhead, an atrox, a prairie rattlesnake, and you know what they're doing? They're going, please, mother of God, don't kill me. I'm going to
please just leave me alone. I'm just going
to hide. And it's really interesting because I've been doing field studies in the wild, in the desert with venomous snakes since the 90s. And I have observed personally the behavior of rattlesnakes change from being very voracious rattlers to staying quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because human is an unreasonable predator that will kill for
heard
no
this.
reason whatsoever. That's what we have seen.
Yeah, I've heard, and you're not actually the first person to even talk about that. I've heard that from other people that do field research with rattlesnakes. That literally their behavior is changing from warning to being like, I'm going to be completely silent. I'm not using this warning device that I have because that is what's going to get me killed. And so
Exactly.
generation by generation, that behavior is almost being worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Which like you said, it tells us everything that we need to know about our behavior.
We're awful.
As we're being, assholes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's insane how often, you see on whatever social media or TV or the news or whatever that it's almost like they're praising people for killing a snake. And whether it's a venomous snake or not, and where I'm from, 9 times out of 10 it's a Nerodia. And they all killed the cottonmouth, but they're all killing banded water snakes.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
people have told me.
Snakes,
People have told me that there was a cobra. We saw there was a cobra in the kitchen. I'm like, that's a coach whip. Do you know that cobras don't live here? And I'm not your neighbor, so there's no way a cobra's at your house. No way.
Well, the way I see it, it's like if you were putting it on TV or the internet that you were out there killing dogs or cats, you'd be crucified. Right. But yet you can kill this animal for no reason. And like, what's the difference? It's a living being. It's not.
Well, it's a prejudice, just like any other prejudice. And it's here's what it is. It's founded in ignorance and stupidity both together. That's the scary part, because it's hard to educate people that have no interest in learning. And so that was our whole purpose of starting our channel, is educating on a broader scale. And this is going to sound sexist, and it truly is. There's more power in seeing a woman hold a snake, because people think so much less of women. If a woman can do it, oh man, it's easy. Yeah. And people really, it's more powerful. It's more dramatic, especially since I don't look like Chewbacca Swamp Thing.
It helps.
I mean, yeah, a little. When people see me holding a big boa or a python, it makes an impression on people that is more impactful than if my 6-foot husband's holding it. And so that's why we decided to make me the host of the show, even though really we do everything together. There's some things that are more my interest, or some things that are more his interest, but we do everything together. The mini horses are mine. Guess who's out there shoeing them? We all are, because they're little buttholes, and it takes a team.
Yes, they are.
Like the retics, they're definitely more my interest, but I can't clean. The truth is, I couldn't keep retics by myself. If I lived by myself, unless I had an employee or a super trusty friend that was skilled enough that they could come over. But really, for my 20-foot girls, it takes at least 3 people.
Yeah,
to even move
to be
them.
Safe and oh, for sure.
And the truth is, when we were moving, I actually got tagged by one of my big girls pretty badly, and I was very grateful that there were about 7 people there, and almost everyone went into panic mode except for John Feely. His heart was racing, but he is a military medic.
Yes, yeah,
he's ready. He was amazing, and I've got some ugly scars from it. I lost so much blood. She got me right in the wrist and was not releasing. I lost so much blood that I did lose consciousness. And I was the one that was like, everyone stay calm. It's okay. She'll release. And then after, I don't know how long it really was. Felt like maybe 5 minutes, but I'm not sure because blood was pouring. I said, okay, I'm getting a little dizzy. And I kind of leaned against the cage. And then I was like, boom, I just hit the ground.
Yeah, just out. Yep.
Okay, not supposed to talk about that either.
You know,
Somebody asked me if I'd come on a show, and they're like, "You haven't published that anywhere else." No, I haven't. Okay, go on.
no.
Yeah,
What I was gonna say is
Go
you
ahead,
were
Riley.
talking about how if a woman can do it, anyone can do it, and people having that mindset. But what's funny, and I tell Zach this all the time, and I talk about it all the time. When we do like birthday parties and educational
Mm-hmm.
shows and stuff, the little girls take to the snakes faster than little boys do almost
Yeah.
every time. Like, and I thought it was hilarious the first time we did it. The first time that we took a bunch of animals somewhere, and like you pull out the first animal, and we kind of start small and work our way
Right.
up to the bigger animals.
Yeah.
And the first snake that we pull out, the first kid up there was a little girl, and like all the boys were kind of standoffish until they saw the girls all having fun,
Right.
and then the boys went. And I always think that's funny because
It is funny.
people like, and you guys said it earlier, that the thought of this industry, this hobby, whatever you want to call it, is masculine and dumb. But man, those little girls, they just take to the in my experience.
No,
like
it's
the little
true.
girls just take to them so quick.
Well, and it's funny because then the little boys are like, okay, if those girls can do it, and you know what's
their
funny?
egos take over.
Yeah, when you're in groups, a lot of times the people that are most irrationally fearful are large men. And no smack talk against large men, because I love me a big man, but they're weenies a lot of times.
No
and it makes
doubt.
me laugh.
And like I've got a buddy of mine. He owns the tattoo shop. And Ryan, if you're watching this, I'm talking shit about you, buddy.
And I am too.
This dude, he's probably 6'2", like 275, bald head and like a beard down to his belly button, and he's a power lifter, like legitimately. And I did his daughter's birthday party, her 16th birthday, the night that Zach did Connected by Creatures with Garrett. I was at her 16th birthday party, and I stopped by the tattoo shop, and I had all the animals with me, and I took the tote with the berm inside the tattoo shop, and he was like, my wife and my daughter love him. He's like, Bradley, please don't take the thing. And I was like, Ryan, I'm fixing to go to your daughter's birthday party, and you're flipping out. So we get to the birthday party, and one of the top 5 Arkansas State high school football players is there, and this kid's like 6'8", probably like 350, and he didn't want anything to do with the ball python. And then all the cute girls started handling all the snakes and taking Instagram pictures with them.
Right.
Next thing you know, this kid's got a retic around his shoulders, and he's FaceTiming his dad. He's like, Dad, look. I love it.
Funny. That is so funny. Well, like Zach was saying, it's really interesting because I could read science books to kids all day long, but when they get to see that animal and they get to interact with it, and it's really interesting because when you have groups of people come and you show them, a bunch of different things, people are moved or inspired or impressed, but a lot of times by something that you wouldn't expect. I've had people hang around the golden gecko tank all night, and they're like, they're just so cool. Like, you can see their toes. And I'm like, oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, they're pretty neat, but
but
they're obsessed. They're enthralled.
Yeah. And then like for some people, like a giant tortoise is like the greatest thing they're ever gonna see. Or it's funny too, because a lot of people, I have 2 English Mastiffs. A lot of people like hug my dog the whole time. They're like, oh, he's so cool. I'm like, well, he is, but I mean,
yeah. Have you seen all this other stuff?
I see dogs every day. Yeah. So it's really funny. I'm always surprised by people, always surprised when we have new people over. And yeah, animals are amazing. It's so, to me, the things that we can learn from animals are incredible. And it's so people don't understand what an important part of our ecosystem are. Even if you don't give a crap about snakes, they're such an important part of our ecosystem. And so that's what I tell people. I
Mhm.
tell them that they're a natural pest control, and people
Yep.
are like afraid of bats and wolf spiders. And I tell them those eat a lot of mosquitoes and
Hmm.
flies. And they're like, oh, well, okay.
Yeah. And they're not going to bother you. They don't
Yeah,
want
they're
anything to do with
really
any of
not.
us. Literally.
Yeah,
Literally, they don't want anything to do with us. Just
yeah,
leave them
no.
alone.
Big hairy ape, bad. Yeah,
Right.
they
Yeah.
I'm
seriously.
glad you brought that up because I was looking to segue. You know, we talked a lot about snakes, but your namesake is Deadly Tarantula Girl,
Yes, that
and
is true.
I have been pretty public, and Brian Cusco made it real public on his video that you know, for most of my life I've been pretty scared, terrified of arachnids, and I held the first one at Barchek's Reptarium because
Mm.
Brian Cusco was like, "You tell people all the time if you'll handle a snake that blah blah blah." Yeah. So he kind of forced my hand into doing it. But
Oh,
that being said, I liked it, and I've been interested since then in getting into tarantulas. So with you being the tarantula girl, what's a good entry level spider?
well, there's a couple of things to consider. So there are some people that just want a beautiful animal that you're going to be able to see and look at, kind of like as a display, sort of like how if you would have like an emerald tree boa. That's not a snake that wants to be held, but they are incredibly beautiful. And if you set up a big, paludarium with a freaking, emerald tree boa or a chondro in there, that would be a piece of living art. Um, Other people want tarantulas that they don't have to worry about being afraid of, that are friendlier.
Mhm.
Other people are interested in the beautiful, brightly colored ones, or some of them want the big, giant, big mamma jammas that get as big as a plate. So I would say it definitely depends on what you're interested in. And for beginner species, I often recommend that people buy something that has a similar, that originates from a similar climate to what you live in, because then it's very hard to kill them. And I also recommend buying a young spider. So if you're afraid of it, it can kind of, if it jumps on your hand or whatever, it's not so scary and it kind of grows up with you. I don't recommend buying a teeny tiny little spiderling because those are
Mhm.
difficult to care for. But I would say like a 1 incher. And so there's actually, of course, native tarantulas around you that you could catch. I wouldn't recommend, if you start getting a collection of tarantulas, bringing in a wild caught and having it near, because just like quarantining a wild caught snake, this is actually my quarantine reptile room and my invert room. We've caught so much stuff this summer, we had to bring in old, big freedom breeder rack. I'm like, man, we need more room. We need more room. But anyway, I personally really like, for that I think are relatively easy to keep, is Brachypelma smithii or Hamorai, and that's the Mexican red knee. And so they're really beautiful. They're black and red. They're very dramatic. They get pretty large. So, if you think of a tarantula, you don't want to really think of like a rink-a-dink species. And that's a species that their venom is less potent. So if something happened and you did get bitten somehow, it's not like you're going to regret it for the rest of your life or have to go to the hospital. And I
Sure.
want to point out that no tarantula venom is medically significant to human beings, meaning it's kind of like getting stung by a bee or a scorpion. It might hurt, but it's not going to endanger your life unless you're allergic somehow, which
Sure. Which does
that's,
happen, but not
yeah,
likely. Yeah.
yeah, that's like a, you might get struck by lightning too. So,
Yeah.
I personally really like Brachypelma smithii or Hamorai. I love, there's a very gentle species called Carabina versicolor, previously known as they call them the Antilles pink toe. They're not the common pet store pink toe. They're a different. When they're little, they're electric blue, and when they grow up, they're pink, purple, and green, and they're like really fluffy and cute.
Yeah.
So that's an arboreal tropical species. So that's one that would just be like, instead of like a level 1 care, it's level 2. But you're already like an advanced exotic animal keeper. So for you, I would say a versicolor is definitely going to be like easy lane for you. That's an animal that I will pull the cork out and handle so people can see it. They do jump. But, and ironically, that's the only species of tarantula I've ever been bitten by. And it was really funny because we were filming and we were getting ready to film. I was free handling a large female. She was kind of, you're like doing the slinky walk from hand to hand. And something happened and she kind of slipped. And she like grabbed my finger and then sort of pulled herself back up, like she grabbed my finger
almost
with
to
her
even
fangs.
just hold on.
Yeah, and 2 little drops of blood welled up, and it didn't really even hurt, I wouldn't say. And I had 0 effect from it whatsoever. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Some people say tarantulas can actually even deliver a dry bite. I don't know that that's been proven like medically, but either that's what happened, or she just literally used her fangs as like a grappling hook and just kind of, which it's kind of like a dry bite, or their venom is really so mild that it didn't sting, it didn't burn, it didn't hurt, it didn't. So we kind of did a funny video about it, but because there was just a guy that had been bitten by something and was like,
freaking out.
Like, and so I kind of made fun of him, but.
As you very well should have.
I'm not a bully, but
listen.
Sounds kind of bullyish to me.
It sounds kind of like, to me, that guy was trying to be very over the top and get some views by being dramatic, and she was trying to set the record straight.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with.
I personally really object to people kind of like fear mongering for views, because ultimately it's bad for the hobby.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, and for the animals more than anything. I mean, I don't care as much about the loss of our financial gain as I do that now some dweeb's going to go out and make sure he kills every snake he sees. Because someone
you've just reinforced. Yeah. You've reinforced that fear for someone, as opposed to a guy like Brian Barczyk who gets bit on camera and has for years and years and years, and he laughs it off. Or like Steve Irwin getting bit by a carpet python in the face and didn't react and just like pulled it off. It's like, everything's fine. That is what lets people's guard down, because they're like, oh, like even though it looked like that should have hurt, that guy obviously like just didn't react. Like I've told people this before. I haven't said it a lot, but I was scared of taking a bite from a snake because I'm like, there's just this natural fear of pain, that humans are wired for. And then and then seeing someone else get bit a million times, you're like, oh, well, obviously it's not that big of a deal. And then getting bit yourself, you laugh the first time that it actually happens and it doesn't hurt, because you're like, that's what I've been concerned about my whole life. And then all of a sudden the love for the animals just takes over, and you're
exactly.
Dude, I've been bit countless amounts of times. Like on this podcast, Rob got me bit in the face. Like, and
I forgot about that on this stream.
Yeah, on this stream, Rob Roush got me bit in the face by one of Jeremy Turgeon's snakes.
I think it was off camera though, by the way.
Was it?
I can't remember. Either way.
And dude, snake bites don't hurt. Like I've had a pretty good bite one time that hurt, but I mean, for the most part, like if any of these ball pythons, in here bite, it's nothing. Even the big female, like it's nothing. Yeah. But still, if I see a snake strike, like.
There's something in you that
it's like it's ingrained in it's in my DNA, especially like out herping. I don't know if either of you have ever messed with Nerodia rhombifer, the diamondback water snakes, but the way those things strike, like they can come back over themselves and whip to the side. They flail. And like if you get one like in the river and you're holding it up and it comes back at your like, man, I'll do all kinds of Matrix Neo moves to get out of the way of that thing.
Honestly, I've never been bitten in the face, and that's the one thing that I like protect myself against because
Sure.
it just seems like a really bad idea. Obviously, I've never. Well, let me think. I've been bitten and stung by venomous invertebrates, but no venomous reptiles. Other people that I work with have, but I personally haven't. And we do have Gila monsters and stuff. Funny story: one of our friends was in the kitchen playing around with one of them, and I was like, I was at the counter doing schoolwork, and I was like, I don't know if she likes that. So anyway, she latched onto him, and I mean, they're like little pit bulls. They'll just pump and pump and pump venom, and all the dancing and screaming he did, it was hilarious. I was like, don't you hurt my Gila monster.
Right.
So we got her off, and that is a bleed. That is a bite that will bleed and bleed and bleed because their venom is an
The
anticoagulant.
anticoagulant. Yeah.
And I've seen a couple Gila bites and beaded lizard, and it's not that bad. Anyway, I do protect my face. I took a nasty jungle carpet bite to the belly last week, just being a jerk, and it bruised black and blue and it bled. I was like walking around bleeding for a while because their teeth are super long. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it didn't hurt that bad. It was a bite and release.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, that retic bite, when people were messing with her and she was twisting me,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
hurt. And being
For sure.
constricted, like if she actually got around my body, that would be agonizing. But
Yeah.
like a colubrid bite, a sand boa bite, a ball python bite.
Yeah, no, for sure. I
Clean
mean, I
everything.
got bit by a 5 foot super dwarf the other day for the first time. It was the first time I've been bitten by any of my
Retic teeth are
dwarf or
long.
super dwarfs, but they are, and that was it. And like it wasn't that big of a deal. It was really no problem. It was a food bite. I reached into the cage without tapping with a hook. It was entirely my fault. But it wasn't a big deal. But it was like right on the meat of your thumb right there, and
Mm.
it was black and blue for like 3 or 4 days. But again, the bite itself was not a problem. But
Well,
I was amazed with the pressure and the depth that he got, because I mean I still have a couple little dots. But if for anybody that's listening to this, if a cat bit me, let alone a dog, I'd have had to go to the freaking doctor.
yep.
Like I'd had to go.
Yep.
I'd had to have gone to the doctor and get it flushed out. It wasn't a problem. So the snake bites are really just not that big a deal. But yeah, from a big retic for sure, they can definitely be problematic. But
Yeah.
people that buy those snakes should always know that going into it. Is the point.
Definitely.
And the
Well-
stuff that people keep at, that you can buy from a pet store, or 90% of the animals that you can just go to a show and buy, it's not a big thing. It's
Yeah.
just really
And
not.
my personal belief is anything you buy, you need to be prepared to be bitten by. Even venomous. Like you need to
1,000%.
you need to have precautions in place, and you need to have a plan, and the people working with you need to have a plan.
Yep.
And obviously, like, don't drink and handle,
Mm-hmm.
common sense.
Yep, absolutely, all of that.
So we've talked away for you and I have talked about herping. We're both really into herping. So give me your ideal, or like your if you could go anywhere and herp in that area, or if there's one animal that you would love to see in the wild, what would it be? Your dream herp adventure.
Okay, a totally no holds barred. Probably Komodo dragons because I love big lizards. And I know that there are people in our hobby that have already gone to Komodo, and that's cool. I still want to go. To me, well, of course, just like most herbers, I love dinosaurs, and seeing giant tortoises and giant snakes and giant lizards, that is, well, alligators and crocs, which I do have crocodilians. To me, that's like the closest living embodiment of what was one day the dominant life force on our planet. And I don't know, I get lost in it. I think it's so amazing. Those animals are so powerful, so amazing, so gentle. Not to say they can't hurt you, because believe me, they can, and they're fast and they are dangerous. But as a species, they're not a violent animal, even though they're carnivorous. And again, not to say it couldn't hurt me, because obviously you're not supposed to approach them. And um, I don't know, have they been proven to be? Yes, we've got a couple wild caught rattlesnakes right now that are just wigging out there. Two, yeah, a couple of blacktails. Oh gosh, a mottled. I think we've got quite a few things in this quarantine rack. Yes, rattlesnakes in this room that won't shut up. So sorry about that.
Don't apologize. I think it adds to the
The ambiance.
Yeah, the
So
ambiance. That's the word. That's the word it's looking for.
So probably going to Komodo. I think it'd be amazing to go to Madagascar because of all the super specialized life that is there,
Yes.
that is unique only to Madagascar. And I have a friend who's a scientist in Tasmania who's invited me to go there with him, and that would be incredible as well. I dream of going to Bali. I really want to see retics in the wild someday, but probably my number one would be Komodo Island.
Yeah.
Be awesome. Yeah.
Solid response. So we've talked a lot about a little bit about a lot of the stuff that you keep. What are some of the projects that you're excited about? Because you have so many animals. I mean, you literally have like a giant zoo. You work with everything from literally mini horses, like you mentioned before, to obviously the snakes, the tarantulas, like all of that stuff. What right now? Because we all know we all have those little projects that we get a little more excited about than others. What's kind of your highlight for you right now?
Gosh. Okay.
I know it's tough because you keep so much stuff.
Well, probably the thing I'm most excited about right now is Matas. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Yes. We are.
Yeah,
They're
cool.
wonderful.
We love turtles.
And
Yeah,
I was gonna
okay,
say,
cool.
turtles come up so often on the show, and we both always smile so big because we both get super excited about them.
I might be coming into a Fly River as well.
That would be
Oh
awesome.
shit! I thought I saw a post the other day that somebody might have had some of those available. So yeah,
Oh, they better
I'll-
not be selling them without me.
no, I don't think it was anything like that. It was anyways. It was probably
Yeah.
it's likely that it's the same person. Maybe I don't
So
know.
I have, like I would sell, I'd say my unborn child. Yeah. I'd say for a collection of Fly
Sure.
River turtles.
They're
Yeah,
amazing. Yeah, they're beautiful.
Oh, yes, so cool. So probably what I'm most excited about right now is Matas. I bought JD a big girl for his birthday just last month. And she is, I don't know, 2 feet probably long, her shell, and
Yeah.
maybe 18 inches wide.
Wow, that's
her
awesome.
Her head's probably as big as this.
As big as your pop filter. That's amazing.
She is super chill. We bought her, I don't know, it's like an 8-foot pond.
Yeah.
She just stays in the same place every day. She's just like
hanging out, living life.
And once in a while she just vacuums up some fish,
Yep.
because
I was gonna say I love how Matas eat. Like
yes.
The way they eat's the coolest thing ever.
So we're kind of on the hunt for a large male right now because she's old enough already to breed.
Oh yeah.
And I have to say, never, ever, ever do we just keep one. At the minimum, we have pairs or trios. When we bring something into our collection, it's with the intention of reproducing it. I consider myself a naturalist and a conservationist. Maybe some people wouldn't think someone who keeps animals in captivity is, but I enjoy going out into the wild, and I also too like to study the origins of the animals and who first described them and what their actual environment is like. And I'm not saying I don't keep snakes and racks, because I do, but I just think if I had a snake, like I wouldn't put like a rainbow boa in a you know what I mean, like give them what they need.
Right.
I also think there's a big problem in our country with people anthropomorphizing animals and thinking they can't be happy. A tarantula can't be happy living in. Okay, come with me into the wild and look at this tiny pencil hole. It looks like only you could only fit a pencil in there, and a tarantula crawls out.
Yeah.
And guess how big it is inside? It's tiny.
Itty
And
bitty. Yeah.
that's where they feel safe, and that's where they
Yep.
live, and that's where they only come out of there if they absolutely have to. I've
Yep.
actually
No,
seen
you've given them heaven.
Oh, look.
Hey.
Oh
There she
yeah.
is.
Wow,
Hey.
that's a beautiful Mata.
She's
Holy cow.
cool.
She
Yeah,
is gorgeous.
She's as big as me.
Everybody say hey to JD, by the way. JD, happy belated birthday.
Oh, they said happy birthday
Oh, yeah.
to you.
I was going to say, I forgot. You got your headphones in. You can't hear us, obviously.
Yeah, they're all
That's
praising her and
gorgeous.
saying how beautiful
Oh, wow.
she is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Every morning, that's like I go out in my pajamas. We have a door that goes out onto a patio where then we have another patio where all of our ponds, we have some big pine trees. So all of our ponds are kind of in that area. We have 6 acres. So it's really awesome. But
That's amazing.
I just want to say real quick that we've had a few animals on this stream. Right there with Riley's Apodora, I think that Mata might be the coolest animal we've had on the stream.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
I've definitely, I haven't seen a Mata that's that size in a minute. I definitely have never seen one in person. I've definitely never seen one like on a live stream. So thanks for that.
She's the second largest in a private collection in the country that I know of.
That makes sense. I believe that because that's the biggest Mata that I have seen.
She's huge. Yeah, I had to do some wheeling and dealing to get her.
Yeah.
And so I want to give a shout out to Suzette at S&S Exotics in Houston. If you are in Houston, go to that place. Suzette is amazing. First of all, she's like a world premier sugar glider breeder. Some people say that she farms them, and that's baloney. She has large numbers of them, but she literally went to their native country and like studied them in the wild and spoke with people who interact with them in the wild. And oh my gosh, she's just, honestly, I have so much respect and admiration for that woman. She is hands-on 7 days a week, works like a slave. Nothing but love and respect for that woman, and she doesn't put up with shit from anybody, and I love that about her too.
Love it.
And so their SNS goes to a lot of shows all over the country, East Coast, West Coast there. So definitely check out SNS Exotics. Suzette is the woman. She's like, I don't know, maybe I kind of girl crush on her a little. She's amazing, incredible.
That's such a cool store too. Like the store part, and pulling up to it, like you wouldn't imagine it is what it is. You know, it's kind of all by itself in Houston. You know, and the first time we went there, I lived in Houston for 2 years. I actually just came home. You know, got to come back to Arkansas from Houston in October last year.
Oh, okay.
And we would go over there and like. It's crazy because like you walk in the door and it's kind of like, you know, essentials. They got like caging and stuff like that.
Right.
To the right,
dry goods and stuff.
Yeah, right. And then to the right, there's reptiles. And I mean, they have really cool reptiles, like all kinds of stuff that they keep and like they breed. And then you go past that and there's a shitload of birds. Like they've got cool birds and
like a whole room.
Animals. Like it's one of the coolest pet stores that I've been to.
Yeah,
like,
and it just goes on, and it's amazing. And it's always kept really well, and it's wild because it's like packed from floor to ceiling with stuff, but it's super clean and nice. And Suzette does not mess around with hiring people that doesn't know about the animals. Like if you go to Petco for real, it is so funny. We can walk into any Petco and walk up to any employee, even the specialist. No crap talk on Petco, but give them a scientific name, and even though that label is on the enclosure, they literally say like, I speak English, like what?
Yeah, no clue.
And
Not even a little bit.
make zero attempt. Like it rings no bells.
Yeah.
And it's really sad. Not to say there are a lot of knowledgeable people that don't know scientific names, but often then that's the precursor to finding out they know almost nothing about that species.
Well, if I was doing that for a living every day.
Well, it's a minimum wage job, but Petco,
I get it, but
Petco needs to be educated on the animals that they're selling, and that should be a requirement of people that are working with the animals. I would think. I don't know. I mean, if I work in a restaurant, I have to know the menu. That's part of my
that's
job.
what I was getting at when I said that. Of like, if that's my full-time job, if that's what I'm doing to pay my bills, like, and I'm an obsessive person anyways. So like if it's something that I'm doing every day, I obsess over every little detail and knowing all of the ins and outs of stuff. So, maybe that's just me. And for the record, I don't know scientific names for shit. Anybody can absolutely call me out for that. I'm just not that person. I'm not. I have a hard enough time remembering anybody's fucking name, even if your name is like Brad. I still won't remember it, but you know what I mean? But,
did you hear that, Brad? He doesn't know your name.
Yeah, Brad, whoever the fuck you are. I don't know. Is there somebody named Bradley?
I think there's as many Zachs as there are Brads. So.
That I would second that. Yes.
Brads and Chads and Bradleys. I don't know. I don't know anybody named Bradley, but you know what I mean. Anyway,
there might be more Johns than there are Bradleys and Zachs, but there's
fuck that John guy. Anyways, John was in here earlier, by the way.
Yeah.
So I want to jump into our segments because
yes,
we've already had you for an hour, and like this is always some of mine and Zach's favorite stuff to talk about. Mm-hmm. So band or musician of the week, who should our listeners listen to? It could be from the past, it could be something new, anything.
Okay, so my hands down choice is going to be any band that my husband ever played in because he's fucking sexy. But if you can't find their music, I've been listening to a band called Syml, SYML, and it's just kind of weird music. I just really like. To me, it's so I'm working on a book right now, and it's like good music that I can just like grade papers or like kind of. It's kind of like that, almost like trance music. Yeah. So they just they're like my chill zone music.
Hell yeah.
Can you shout out some of JD's bands where people might be able to find them? Like some of
or is there a site or anything? Yeah.
Well, I'd have to ask him. So I think that those pages have been taken down. You know how bands are. It's kind of like when a marriage breaks up. So he was in a band for a long time, kind of a metal. Well, they were a metal band called Ascetic. And they had a YouTube channel. I don't know if it got taken down. Then he was in a band with an amazing female singer called Sin of Elise. I don't know if they have any music online. And then before that, it was like way back when he was a teenager, and none of that stuff got recorded ever.
Sure.
And so he started drumming again about, I don't know, probably 10 years ago. And kind of talked a guitarist he works with, and then looped some other people in, and they were together for like 2 or 3 years, and they were really good. But you know how things happen with musicians. Everybody's a drama queen and all that.
Oh,
yeah, 100%.
Zach, who you got this week, band or musician?
I'm gonna go with a band called City and Color. They just randomly one of their songs popped into my head the other day, like just one of those, like I was cleaning tubs and just like a random line from a song. You know how stuff just
coming
pops
home.
back in your
That's
head,
my
man.
favorite
Yeah,
City and Color
dude, Coming Home. Yep, Coming Home is really fucking good. They've got a couple songs that I've been listening to on repeat here lately, and they just speak to me. So, awesome. You guys always know I'm big on lyrics and just anything that lyrically, even if I don't necessarily love the flow of a song or something like that, a lot of times if I hear something and lyrically it speaks to my soul, it breaks through the barrier. And their stuff it does both. It really does. It's got good flow. It's got good sound. It's a little slower pace, a little bit more emo. If you guys are not into that, then maybe it's not your thing. But it speaks to me pretty deeply. So that's where I'm at this week. What you
So
got, Bradley?
here's a fun fact
Oh, wait.
about me. I have to pee about every hour, so I'm gonna do that while you tell your band, and I'll be
You
right
do your
back in
thing.
like 1
Do your
minute.
thing. Do your thing.
So mine's kind of something different than
Okay.
I've been shouting out here lately, and it came to me on my rush home today because like I was driving and straight up just dancing my ass off. So
Yeah.
I'm going with Bobby Brown this
Bobby
week.
Brown. Okay.
Yeah. So you know, Bobby Brown's late '80s after he quit or got kicked out of New Edition.
I was gonna say, like, I'm familiar with Bobby Brown, but I don't think I've heard any of his independent
Was
any of his
married to
solo
Whitney
stuff.
Houston. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Yep.
so yeah, and dude, that whole genre is like my guilty pleasure. Like,
Okay.
I love like late '80s and '90s R&B music. Like, and you know, normally
It's very branded. It's very specific. You know,
Yeah.
like that. Like it's nothing outside of that era sounds the same as that stuff in that
exactly.
timeline.
And like I love like I mean I'm not even really into like synth music and stuff, but like I love the synthesizers in that.
Yeah.
It's just that whole era. Like I love that whole
So
era.
Marita, to fill you in, Bradley's musician of the week was Bobby Brown.
Awesome. Very cool.
Just so you're up to speed with us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So our next segment is movie or TV show of the week. And same thing with the music. It could be something from the past, something you're watching now, anything.
Okay, this is gonna be cheesy. I know. Probably I'm a reader and a writer, and I got to meet George R. Martin, the author of the Fire and Ice books.
No
So
shit.
Game of Thrones. I actually was at a special guest at a red carpet event at his theater in Santa Fe.
That's amazing.
Yes, and so it was really funny because do you know who Neil Gaiman is? He's like a comic book guy.
The name sounds super familiar, but I can't.
He's an author.
Exactly where I've read it or seen it.
He's super famous. Like he wrote The Sandman, and you know
Oh,
the
wow.
movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah.
That was
That's
Neil
his stuff.
Gaiman's
Okay.
story. Yeah.
That's probably where I heard it from then.
So anyway, Neil Gaiman was involved in this project, and so it was a scientist in Tasmania contacted me, and it was really like the first email. I was like, "What?" He was like, "I'm a scientist in Tasmania, and blah blah blah. I'm doing this special documentary about this elusive cave spider, and I'd like to interview you." And so it's really funny because sometimes it's me looking at the emails, and sometimes it's JD. So I'm like, I don't know. Did you see that? And he's like,
it sounds kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't know. And so I don't know if we even responded. And he wrote again, and he was like, "Hello, Miss Tarantula Girl, blah blah blah." So it was totally legit. This guy was doing a research project on this giant cave spider in Tasmania. He was a scientist. He said Neil Gaiman is hosting the project, and we were like, really? And he sent us links for all the stuff. And he said, since you're an internationally famous spider expert, which this was like, our channel was only like a year or two old. We were like, what? And he said, is there an airport where you live in Roswell, New Mexico? And we were like, yeah. And they were like, well, can we fly there and see you and like talk to you and interview you? So we were in the 8 Legs documentary, and they had several premieres in different countries. The American premiere was in Santa Fe at George R. Martin's theater. And so they were like, you can talk to George. He's super friendly, but don't ask him anything about the don't he
Game
just
of Thrones,
he'll just shut you down
book,
and
any of that shit. Yeah, which is understandable.
I get it. He doesn't want to talk about it. And so it was so funny. He was like this dowdy old man,
Yeah.
And if you've seen Game of Thrones, it's pretty fucking hot.
Yeah,
And-
in terms of like, and so you're like, this is the person that came up with all of this stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
So so they did books and documentaries of the 16 Legs project. And so
fucking cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
we're in the full length. Oh, that's Neil Gaiman. Oh, reverse. That's Neil Gaiman right there. But
that's amazing.
So they sent us the books and all the different. Yeah.
By the way, I want to point out that JD is like on top of his shit in terms of what we're talking about. He's the best.
He's
cleaning Venomous. Yeah. He's cleaning Venomous. So he's like, hold on, little Cobra. Let's, Gaboon.
Yeah, right.
You're going to have to wait your turn. And he's the best for so many reasons that
y'all are both fucking, y'all are a pair for sure. No, y'all are like a power couple for sure. In terms of what y'all do, in terms of like the content creation, I'm just saying, like in terms of the content creation, like the stuff that y'all put out, because we haven't touched a lot about that, but like y'all put out some great content. You guys put out content consistently. You're consistent with your social media. You're really on the ball. And it's a lot, like it's a lot for any one person. Exactly. Great wingman. It's a lot for any one person to try to do that all on their own. And I love the support that you guys have for each other, and just the relationship that you guys have in terms of that stuff. It's so great to see.
Well, I would have to, I definitely could not do this by myself. It would be super small scale if it were by myself. And the truth is, I don't think I would have ever had the courage to go online. But because I have the big dog behind me, it's not
pushing
so scary. Yeah. Well,
like, hey, get out there. Like,
not only supporting me, but literally protecting me, because some people are weird. It's the truth. Some people are weird.
Don't even get me started.
Zach, we had this conversation a couple hours
Bradley
ago.
and I literally talked about this today.
Do you guys get a lot of weird stalking?
Just in relation to people that we're very close with, that do, like, women in the hobby that we're close with, that we're friends with, that get all kinds of just insane stuff, which I already knew about, but like then like having like people tell you like specific details about, oh yeah, this person, and it's people that are active in the hobby.
I know
it bothers me so bad, because a lot what people may or may not know about me, I am all about respect. I am so big on respect, and there are numerous people that are big names in this hobby that are very, very, very fucking filthy, disrespectful, disgusting human beings.
Right.
And it makes me want to fucking go on the fucking warpath. I won't.
It's difficult.
It's not my place. Exactly.
If I were a woman in this industry, I would be, to be perfectly honest with you, I'd be afraid to be online. And I would be afraid to go to shows and stuff without him. And it is so funny, because when he and I walk around together, it's like, nope, I don't know you. And then if he goes to the bathroom or something, people will swarm me. And it's mostly like, oh my gosh, is it really you? I love it when people ask, is it really you? People will email me or message me on social media and say, is it really you? Like,
no,
if I were an imposter, wouldn't I continue to lie?
Yeah.
Yes, it's really me. Which there have been like a lot of like fake accounts of like me, of like Indian and Asian descent. I don't know why, but anyway.
That is weird.
Yeah. So a lot of people though they're just more intimidated by him for obvious reasons.
Sure.
And it's so interesting. Chris, my baby, just jumped on the chat.
Fucking love Eaton. He's the best.
Yeah. So I would probably be afraid, honestly, because most of the feedback I get is amazing. It's people saying that they admire me, or that they've learned from me, or that, whatever, I brought them into the hobby. And that to me is like life-changing.
Yes.
But then like one out of every 100 is like a guy who wants to wear my skin, that type of, gentleman.
Yeah. Or somebody that wants to pretend to be your friend for 6 weeks, and then suddenly the conversation shifts towards something awkward or weird.
Yeah.
And again,
that's what I did to Zach, by the way.
Yeah,
Aw,
100%.
and look, you
100%.
wrangled him.
Yeah, here I am.
There was a woman, and this just to me, I don't understand it at all. First of all, people asking for pictures of your armpit. I don't get that. But yeah, that was a new one. I learned some stuff. There was a woman, at least her profile gave the impression she was a woman, who wanted to talk to me and wanted to see video of me and just went on and on and on and on and made multiple profiles and multiple attempts over like a year about wanting me to talk about or show. This was a new one for me. Me stepping on cockroaches with my bare feet and squishing them with my toes.
Very specific.
I was like, I don't do that. And no, I am not interested in doing that. And no. And the next question, whatever you're going to ask, no. Thank you. No. And then again, no, still, whatever's going to be after that. No, still. And it's
people are crazy.
Yeah. And to each their own. I'm not into that type of stuff. So I won't do it with you.
Yeah. There's a fetish out there for everyone, I guess. There's always a gap to be filled.
And that's fine. Do it if you want.
But, whatever
but
you're
I'm
into.
not going to do it.
For the record, we're not here to judge anybody. Whatever you're into. You find a willing participant, you do your thing. Just don't tell me about it. Okay.
If you're into barefoot cockroach stomping, I'm judging you. I don't give a shit.
Okay, I might be out. I might personally be out, but listen, if whatever makes you happy,
Sure. Yeah, and I wish you the best, and go stomp away.
I don't need to see it or hear about it. I'm
no,
good
please don't make another profile, please.
Please don't. So if you're watching this, maybe just leave Marita alone. Find somebody else.
Yeah, it's been a little while, like probably years since that person.
Well, that's good. That's good.
And it was like. She just came in hot right away with the roach talk. There wasn't even any icebreaker. I posted something. I posted a what is it? When you take a picture of your screen, a screenshot.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, because I thought it was kind of funny. Someone messaged me on TikTok, which my TikToks are not sexy. I don't think. Once in a while, I'll do one that's a little bit hot where I'm wearing a corset or something, but with clothes.
Yeah, it might be considered racy, but not.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sure. But most of my TikTok are very kind of sort of have a cottagecore vibe. It's me living in the country and I grow vegetables
on a little farm with a bunch of animals.
It really is very much like that. Probably a lot of people hate it. But somebody DM'd me or whatever you call it on TikTok. I didn't even know you could get messages on TikTok, and just straight up, right out of the gate said, "I want to spank your tight ass." And I was like, well, no, thank you.
That's aggressive. Yeah.
That's aggressive. And I thought it was so funny. You can see on there's one bubble and another bubble. That was the person, no, hello. Just so I'm that's kind of funny. I'm going to post that. And I don't think you can see their username or I don't know what it says.
If you can, you know what? Who gives a fuck? People like that need to be gaslighted.
I don't normally call people out.
Sure. And, we're on the same page with that.
People are. Yeah, here's the thing too. There's a lot of lonely people just looking for connection, and that's honestly OnlyFans, but that's another story. So anyway, we're living in a strangely isolated time. And I love that there are sex workers, and not everyone on OnlyFans is a sex worker, because I have an OnlyFans and it's very tame.
Sure.
But I love that there's a place for lonely people to connect with other people, and even on a sexual level where it's safe for everybody, and where the content creator, the model, the actress does not have to pay some other guy. You pay one platform a certain percentage, and honestly, the sky is the limit. And there's men and women. There's all kinds of different people. There's artists playing music. There's chefs making food. There's a lot of sex work.
It's like what people talk. It's like Patreon. Patreon's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
it's literally the same platform. It's just one is known for. one is known for one thing versus the other.
Right. And
I don't know which one was first, to be honest.
I think, well, I knew of Patreon first. I'll say that. I don't know if
OnlyFans. That's where my head's at.
OnlyFans was out there first. I wasn't aware of it, but
yeah.
I will say this: they protect their creators very closely, because I'm trying to think. People do message me on my OnlyFans account, and it's very small because I don't do anything X-rated. Sometimes people kind of like, they'll either outright ask, and I'll say it's not, and they'll subscribe for 1 month and then it's not.
Yeah,
and they're like,
yeah, they're like, yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Honestly, it's very much like my Instagram account, except it's only pictures of me. I don't really post pictures of animals usually. But anyway, sometimes it's like me driving to work, like having a gay old time, like just singing it up. But sometimes it's a little bit sexy, but nothing like no nudes, no cam work, nothing like that. Anyway, people have written me. There's a couple people that would like write me like every single day and want to say like good morning and have me say good morning back. And those are like my ride or die people, and that's cool. Sure. They connect with me and I love that. But a couple of times I've tried to write something that says something like girl or time or place. I can't remember, but it were certain words that OnlyFans would block me from saying that. And at first I was like, what's this all about? And then the second or third time it happened, I thought, these are buzzwords for human trafficking. Mm-hmm. And they don't allow those messages. To me, that was because obviously women are trafficked. I'm sure you know that. Even in our country, women are being trafficked. Wow. And it's awful. And so I love that OnlyFans protects their creators so well. And also there was a guy who messaged me and asked me like on Snapchat or something, do you post nudes on your OnlyFans? And I said, no. Well, he subscribed anyway, and he started asking, blah, blah, blah. Will you do this for this, this for this? Mm-hmm. And I just said,
like trying to push the envelope. Yeah.
Yeah. And he said, this is a ripoff. I'm going to ask for my money back. And I said, well, you paid for a month.
Fine.
So
yeah,
a month is a month.
Fuck out of here.
So I got some kind of message from the platform saying that basically he had put in like a complaint or something, and that they sent him a creator is not the creator publishes whatever they want.
Yeah.
If I want to post pictures of my desk every day and someone wants to subscribe, then they can unsubscribe.
Right. And that's yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if they're going to support him or me. And they told him, you chose to subscribe. And he didn't even like, I could have come back and said, he asked me, but I didn't even have to. So they told him, you only paid for 1 month. You have access to her content until, day X.
This date.
And then feel free to not continue your subscription. And I was like, wow, I feel like that platform specifically is empowering creators even more than YouTube, more than Instagram,
more than any other,
more than Facebook. I feel that way. And that they're protecting the creators. And I mean, I feel like that's important as a woman. So, okay, getting serious again. Sorry about that. My favorite movie, Game of Thrones. My favorite series, Game of Thrones.
All of this conversation has been amazing, first of all, but also just it's stuff that we don't talk about. Like, and our whole platform, realistically, this is a reptile podcast, but it's connected by creatures for a reason. We're connected to people like you and so many other people and all of the guests that we've had on through the animals that we all keep and love. But what we want to talk about is literally everything else. So I'm actually enjoying very much the fact that this entire episode has been literally virtually nothing but the other stuff. But that's
you got to see my Mata.
Yes, we did get this year, and that's why I said virtually. We've had some reptiles, but it's important to me for people to know you as a content creator. It's important to me to know you as a person, what you do day to day, and why you're important to the hobby, because you are, and you bring a lot to the table. a lot more than just, hey, we can bring you on here tonight and talk to you about what breeding projects you're working with, the same as every other fucking podcast that's out there. And that's not me shitting on anybody for having those podcasts. People go to those podcasts for a reason, and that's the content they're looking for. But I like to think the people that come in here to watch our stuff come in here because they're like, hey, Bradley and Zach are going to go out of left field with these people that they bring on, and I want to know more about this person and who they are in terms of whether it be the personal life or just the other stuff, the stuff that, again, all of us share. We already know that we all love reptiles. We already know that we all love animals. Let's get beyond that and figure out like why we're friends, like why we're really friends, why we all really get along, and the stuff that excites us all. So it's important.
And like we want people to get a better sense of the guests. You know, like Zach said, you can go anywhere and see what animals you're with. We can go to your Instagram and see your animals, but we can ask you these crazy questions and we can have a crazy conversation about anything. And that's what's important to us is, you know, just being able to bring the person out, you know, because we are connected by creatures, you know, that's what brought us together, but we're connected on several different things.
Yeah, well, I just have to say thank you so much. And I just feel super respected, and that's awesome. The hobby and our community is growing so much closer, and I absolutely love that. And, you know, 20, 30 years ago, breeders wouldn't really talk to each other for the most part. It was very cutthroat. If you figured something out about a species, I mean, ball pythons they were just a wild caught snake that would come in and die 30 years ago for the most part. Yeah. But if somebody figured out a secret about how to reproduce something or how to hatch the eggs or, you know, how to, you know, the diapause on a certain species of chameleon, you would take that to your grave. And so starting about 10 years ago, there started to be a couple pretty decent reptile channels that were getting not super in depth, but we're like, okay, that's awesome that reptiles are being represented on YouTube. But there were only 2 tarantula channels. Both of them were hosted by men, and neither one was very serious. Like, it was very much like, this is my Goliath bird eater, Stella. Isn't she cool? You have to be careful so she doesn't fall. And it's like, okay, can you see the spider? You know, and it's like, no, I can't.
Bad lighting, shaky camera. They're sitting on their filthy couch in their filthy living room, shouting Chris Eaton. The whole nine. Like, the content was not good. Yeah, it wasn't a good representation.
Our whole purpose was people would write us every day, and people would even just randomly ask people that weren't even interested in the animals. They would say, how do tarantulas, you know, do it? And I'm like, it's really weird, actually. It's very weird. And so what we figured is that by recording it to the best way that we could, which we started out on a phone, and trying to light it the best that we could, and then publishing that information, it was very interesting. I mean, we got some backlash from people saying, why are you telling everyone this? And we're like, here's what we want. We want the animals to live and thrive. We don't want people buying animals and killing them. We don't want people buying animals and then having them die without reproducing, because ultimately we're here for the animals. And what they failed to realize was that the more people that learn about it, the more people that are successful, the more people that grow confident, what happens? They don't just keep one. Their collection grows. And very rarely do they become your competitor and put you out of business. Usually they help bring people in, talk to people, reproduce the species that you can't reproduce because they're in Chicago and you're in New Mexico and it's different there. There are species that are considered pretty run-of-the-mill that I've never been able to reproduce because I've always lived in the Southwest. Since I've been
keeping... your humidity, your barometric
pressure,
your elevation is all weird.
Right. You know what? My friend was a big cobra breeder in Colorado, and when he moved to Texas, it took him 4 years to figure out how to breed cobras in Texas. It's
Oh shit.
different. Animals know things that we can't even understand. And so that was, first of all, why we chose to first only basically do videos on tarantulas, because there was no one teaching about tarantulas. There were 2 tarantula channels, but they weren't educating. And so that's where we decided on the YouTube name Deadly Tarantula Girl. And I said, but I don't just always want to. What if our channel takes off? I want to, of course, start showing more of what we actually do. And he
Yeah.
said, well, it'll be kind of like the learning channel, TLC, that is mostly like reality television channel now. Everybody
Sure.
knows what TLC is. Everybody knows. Everybody
Yeah.
knows what to expect. Everybody knows what kind of
Mhm.
programming it is. Everybody knows if there's a show coming on
Yeah.
when it is. He said, if we become popular and well known, everybody will know Deadly Tarantula Girl is you, that you breed all kinds of animals. It'll just kind of be like CVS.
Yeah.
What
The
does that
brand
stand
the
for?
brand the brand
Nobody
will take
knows.
over. Yeah,
But
the brand
people,
will take
yeah.
over for itself and
So
and explain
yeah,
itself. Yeah, I get it.
we finally started rebranding as just DTG a couple of years ago. But I was anxious to get out there and show more of what we really do. But we waited for like 6 years before we
Mhm.
showed anything else. And now people are like, oh, you don't even breed tarantulas anymore. Yes, I sure do. But
Yeah. It's just not your main focus in terms of like your content creation necessarily, or
exactly.
yeah.
So what we are really trying to do now is one invert video a week and then one reptile video a week at the minimum, which our reproduction's been a little bit down because we knew that relocating a lot of our animals were going to kind of take some time to
Hit that
adjust.
reset button, sure.
Yeah, some of our animals went off feeding for a while. And, we've got stuff in the incubator, but we've reproduced stuff since we've been here. But we closed escrow on this place July 31st of 20. So it's not even been a year yet. And, it's funny because we knew that that would happen. And we also knew that it would be worth it because we like the gun laws, we like the
Yep.
venomous laws in Texas, and we love the wildlife.
Yeah. Can't
So,
lose.
no, it's just been super amazing. We love the little teeny tiny town we're in. We love the property that we bought. I mean, I I like visiting the city, but I like quiet and I like peace. I like reading and writing and I like doing yoga and I love going to shows and I love people and I love socializing. But if I could never get away from that, like I can't imagine like living in New York and everywhere you look there's buildings and people.
Yeah. Just constant,
No.
constant, constant. Yeah. We all
Like
need that. We all need that decompression.
when I
Or
sit
most of
up,
us, or many of
yeah.
us.
Well, some people really enjoy
Yeah.
the hustle and
Yeah.
bustle.
For sure.
But like when I look out my bedroom window, I see a plateau and I see the sun rising and I see
Yeah.
all the stars. And it's so quiet. The only noise is like the music I'm listening to or the
Or the
scratch of
animals.
my
Or the
pen.
rattlesnakes
Yeah.
in the back.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, that's just background noise to me. But we're super happy here. And so we knew that whatever losses we would experience, and the truth is we lost a few animals coming here too, which we knew. I lost my
Stress is a
big,
hell of a thing. Yeah.
yeah, reptiles are funny. I lost my big Aldabra. That was,
That's
ooh,
tough.
that
Yeah.
was the kicker for me because he was our little baby. He was one of our pets and that hurt.
Yeah.
But
Stress. Yeah. Stress does a number on tortoises for sure.
we did our
For anybody
best
that doesn't know,
and
and you
we
guys, yeah,
had
I was gonna say,
we had really minimal losses. So although I was devastated, it's part of being a in charge of a zoo and
Mhm.
don't let anybody fool you. Anyone that has large collections of animals, especially delicate animals like reptiles, animals do die.
Sure.
It totally natural. It's natural. Some of them die from natural causes. Some of them have problems that, like, we've had like milk snakes that get like an enlarged heart. Just funny things happen sometimes, and
Yeah, no, for sure.
reptiles are difficult to operate on, and sometimes there's not really much that can be done. Like, we have vets that consult with us, and we're like, oh,
Yeah.
you could, like with a prolapse, you could, soak in sugar water. You could try to, just clean it and use a lubricant and try to,
Hmm.
but yeah,
Yeah, there's always
reptiles are.
lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's tough.
Marita, we've had you for a little over an hour and a half, and I wanna say that when Zach and I were talking about asking you to be on the show with us, a big part of that is that we wanted to, and we've wanted to before. We just, I don't know why it hasn't happened, but we wanted to highlight women in this hobby. Like, we wanted to, talk about and have some of the women from this hobby, because there's women in this hobby are doing great things, and I don't think that they get enough recognition for it. And I just want to say that, you've definitely set the bar high. Our first guest that we ever had on this show was Brian and Kathy Farley, and we haven't had another woman on yet, except for you now. And for women in the hobby, you've definitely set the bar high. The conversation that we've had tonight's been great. Uh, the fact that you demand respect, like, I love that. And like I said earlier, I think that that teacher mentality of you, I applaud that, because, like, I would love for, my daughter's teachers to show her as a woman that she needs to demand respect. Like, I love that. So thank you for coming on. It's been great. Uh, Zach, do you have anything for Marita left?
I mean, just really just to reiterate kind of what you said. I mean, Marita and I met on the Hot Girls episode of Snakes and the Fat Man, which was a blast, and really she just kind of reiterated tonight, just again like you said, just what a badass she is in the industry, and what she brings to the table, and I still think that we didn't even begin to scratch the surface of her level of knowledge. I always appreciate, and I know numerous women in this hobby, and numerous women that were on that same podcast. If you guys have not seen that, you need to check it out. Just literally just search it on YouTube, just Hot Chicks, Snakes and the Fat Man, and it'll come up. That can speak over my head, that know more about so many things than I even could possibly ever know. A lot of those same women are people that I reach out to with questions and ask for information all the time, and I love that. I hate the stuff that you guys have to go through, because again, I have seen it firsthand, the messages and just the bullshit that you guys get, and I wish that was not a thing. Sadly, I guess I struggle to accept it because I don't like it, and I'm not that person. I have 7 sisters, for the people that don't know, and 6 of those are younger sisters, and so for me, it's all about respect, and it's all about just carrying yourself in such a way that you don't want anything from other people in terms of sexual things, because that's
Right.
just should be your natural state. Like, don't be a fucking dickhead. If somebody gives you indications that that's where a conversation should go, then that's a whole nother conversation. Anyways, I just think people are pieces of shit for the most part. Men very specifically in this hobby overall, and that's not me calling anybody out specifically. There are jokes amongst friends, and there are relationships amongst friends that definitely can change all of that dynamic. But I respect the fuck out of Marita and so many other people in this hobby, and I'm just thankful for Marita coming on here, spending some time educating us even just an inkling of about what she does in terms of the hobby. And I would encourage all of you guys to check out all of her stuff. Her links are in the description for her YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram. Marita, let me know if there's any other links that we need to put in there that we missed. But other than that, that's really all I got. Marita, you got anything before we close out?
I just want to say that a lot of people still assume that I'm just a model or like a host on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and that I'm like reading a script. And this is really me every day. I'm in the trenches shoveling manure and getting bitten and scratched. Oh, this is so funny. So we have a Nile monitor that just has a nasty attitude, as a lot of them do. And a lot of times, of course, you open it, he's expecting food, he might bite you. So what I do is I show my hands like this to show like, okay, I'm coming to get you. I don't have food. So the other day he jumped out and he bit my hand and then jumped back, and I was like, that was just a dick move. Like, you just did that just to be,
Yeah,
you
just
know, yeah. So I was kind of laughing about it. He's not huge, so it's still funny. Anyway, so this week, a little asshole, he literally, okay, so I'm like, okay, I'm coming. He literally came claws flying, monkey squirrel action at my face. And like you, I did like the Matrix, like,
yeah.
and then I was like, you mother, okay, I'm gonna be fucking rough with you. I'm gonna get you by the neck. And but
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, so like the scratches and the scars, like, this is really me, what I do every single day. And I don't always look cute doing it either. And so thank you guys for kind of digging a little bit into like the meat of me and what I am and what I think about, because I do have a brain. And
No.
yeah, shocker, I know. So my big plan right now is to finish the book I'm writing by the end of July. So I'll keep you guys posted if you care about that.
Please do. We definitely do. And I think that anybody that's listened to you talk for the last hour and 45 minutes, absolutely. If they don't, there's something wrong with them. They weren't listening right. So
there we go.
Because again, we only just barely scratched the surface. So Bradley, you want to close this out? As Bradley's Bradley. I was say,
yeah,
I just got
a glitch. So
it's all good.
I definitely know that Zach and I both want to have you on again at some point, because there's so much more that we could talk about and so many other things that we could touch on. But again, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's been watching and commenting. There was a lot of chat going on tonight. Make sure you guys tune in next week. We're going to have another great guest for you. And as always, we love each and every one of you that feels like you are connected by creatures. Bye, guys.
Love you guys. We'll see y'all next week.
Thank you.
Bye, y'all.